Are you looking to improve your sales without resorting to pushy tactics? Welcome to Sales Made Easy, the podcast that helps you to achieve better sales results and gain long lasting clients through relational selling. Let's get right into it. Let's get started. I'm going to introduce Jose Castellanos. I've known Jose for several years now, and he is brilliant when it comes to digital marketing. And I wanted to get him on the podcast. We had a conversation recently about the challenges with digital marketing after the marketing may work, right? So once you have the lead gen, what do we do afterwards? And this is a challenge that leads not only from or begins with the sales, that first call, but it can go right up until the person, if you're getting people into a location, it could be all about that experience. So the experience that we provide as the owner or of our company is going to have a lot to do with the success of the digital marketing. So it goes beyond just the marketing. So for Jose's background, he is, I think, about an 11-year veteran of the digital marketing world. He is the CEO of Recon Media, and his company provides digital marketing services to local businesses to help them improve their online presence and increase revenue, which is something that we all want. So, Jose, welcome to the program here. What's the good word?
Hey, Harry, thanks for having me. Appreciate you. Good word. I'm excited to be here. So thanks for having me.
All right, good deal. So yes, we're thrilled. So just as far as the digital marketing world is concerned, anyone who's starting a small business, I think we all venture into the digital marketing space and we realize that we're in way over our head, right? We're learning as we go. Some of us, like I'll just speak for myself, we get products like Canva. We're familiar with social media. We try to post consistently. We don't understand who our ideal client is. We don't understand what Facebook and Google ads really do. We want to know how to use them. We see things like boost this post. There's so much stuff coming at us. And then every time we're on social media, we get some message that's coming to us saying we need this. And we're constantly chasing shiny objects. And all we want to do, Jose, is grow our business, make the impact that we want to make. So with this in mind, with this crazy background in mind, where should we start? That's the first question I have for you, Jose, is where do we begin?
Yeah, so like you said, most business owners get very overwhelmed, right? Digital marketing, it's not just like one thing, right? Digital marketing is a bunch of different things, and each one has its own specific purpose. And then when you utilize them all together, you can really create something amazing when it comes to a real marketing machine. And so when it comes to getting started, the place you want to get started is really is making sure that you have a solid foundation, right? Your website, Google Business Profile, social media profiles on the profiles where your ideal customers are, right? So if you're doing a lot of B2B, you're likely going to be utilizing more LinkedIn. If B2C, you can utilize a lot of Facebook, Instagram, a lot of the social channels, as well as you can utilize those for B2B. But, specifically speaking, those are kind of like the different channels there. And then you also have, videos, right? So like YouTube's become very, very popular. And now there's a lot of streaming platforms like Hulu, all the Disney Plus platforms that they have, Hulu, Disney Plus, and all of those. They have ad platforms now where I'm actually able to go in there and put up a video in there and have your ad run right on these streaming platforms. And so that's like at the very end of your marketing, right? That's where you're really working on more branding and getting yourself out there. First, setting up your foundation, get your website, social media, and really, start to let people know who you are, what you do. And then on the website is not just having a website, but making sure that it's set up for what you ultimately want. more phone calls, more leads, more sales, depending on what it is. If you're e-commerce, you want to focus it on generating more sales. And if you're generating phone calls and leads, you want to make sure that that phone number is extremely easy to see and find and click on, as well as easy to hit a contact us button for a form or submission for you to get there. So that's where I would start, is making sure you have those two simple things there in place.
Okay, so as far as the website is concerned, what is the purpose of the website? I think this is a thing that I needed to learn. So I'm going to throw it out there because I am not the expert. What would you say is really the purpose of the website?
The website is your digital portfolio. Some people want to say business card, but it's ultimately your presence, right? Your portfolio. It's your about. It's a place where someone can go and just learn about you, right? Learn about your business, who you are, what you do, the services you offer, the products you offer, and how you can help them. Right. And so essentially it's a digital brochure, right? So way back in the day, right, before there was the internet, you'd meet with a prospect and you'd probably hand them a brochure that explained everything that it is that you do. If you do insurance, you had a brochure all about your insurances that you offer. If you're a plumber, you have a brochure about the plumbing services that you offer, right? So now all of that has become online, and that's really what a website should be. And one area when it comes to websites that people get confused on is the difference between a website and a landing page.
Mm, yeah, I can tell you that I was confused on that one in the beginning. So, yeah,
Yes.
explain what you mean by that, please.
Yeah. So a lot of times when you speak to marketers, they're going to throw out the word landing page out there. And really, a landing page is the page that you're driving traffic to, right? So your website essentially is also a landing page, but it's not set up per se as what they would consider a landing page. And a landing page is essentially set up in order to get people to convert, right? There's not a
Right.
lot of like ton of information on there. There's no buttons to click on to go through a bunch of different pages. They're typically one page, do you have this problem? Here's the solution we offer. Here's how you get a hold of us, right? They're really quick, short, straight to the point. So if someone goes to Google and is searching for, I need water heater repair, and they click on it and it goes to water heater not working, need help today, contact me here, right? It's like quick
Right.
and simple and easy and straight to the point. And that's typically
Right.
what most landing pages are going to be, where the website's going to be a little bit more informative. But you should also think of your website as a landing page as well. And that's why I mentioned making sure to have the phone number on there and contact forms easy for people to see.
Yeah, very good. I can think of when I started out, I was getting landing pages because I didn't understand. Then I was thinking that I was going to be able to blog. And I said, how do I blog on these things? The poor person that was dealing with me is like, they had to be shaking their head and said, what did I get myself into working with this guy? But these are things we learn. We many of us who are starting a business came out of the corporate arena. We were not digital marketers. We did not build websites. And then it's like all of a sudden it's like, well, I guess I need a website. And then I spent some time on Wix, and I realized that I am not a website designer. I know nothing about writing good copy, and these are things I didn't really understand my ideal client. Who was I really speaking to? All of these things I had to work through. So can we just touch on that as far as the ideal client and what it is, how we're reaching out to them or how we're messaging them or attracting them, may be a better word there.
Yeah, so a lot of businesses struggle with their ideal client, and getting in front of them because they don't know how to identify them, right? And it's mostly because they're just looking to get business from anybody, right?
Right. I'll
They're
take
like, oh, you
anybody's
need,
money, right? Is
yeah,
what they
they're just
say. It's
literally,
like, this works
exactly.
for everybody. Everybody needs what I have.
Right. And it's
Yeah.
true. It may work for everybody, right? And it might be perfect for everybody, but there's always somebody that it's really perfect for, right?
Mm,
And there's that one customer that you get and you're like, this is a great customer, man. This is the perfect customer. That's your ideal customer. If you've
mm,
had a customer and you're like, this is the perfect customer, I need like 100 of these, that is your ideal customer. That's who you want to be messaging to. That's who you want to be speaking to. So you find that one customer that you're like, man, this is the person I need like 100 of them. Think about who they are, what things they're interested in, why they reached out to you, what problems that they're facing that you're solving for them, because the other ideal customers are likely having the same problems, same situations, and now you can speak directly to that as opposed to trying to speak to everybody.
Yeah, so good. Again, I'm going to reflect on myself. Back in early on, I didn't really understand my ideal client. I was thinking business owners, but then you start working with various business owners and you say, I want to work with a business owner that is collaborative, someone that appreciates what I do, somebody that gets sales to some degree because I'm a sales coach, somebody that is patient and is not looking for results in a day. Right. So all of these things, they start to come into play once you start experiencing it. If you don't have the experience, it is a little bit of trial and error, isn't it? Is trying to figure out who your
Correct.
ideal client is.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you're first getting started, you're not going to know who your ideal customer is unless you
Mm,
were working in the industry and you're like, these are the customers I want, and you just move over and start your own thing.
yeah.
But in most cases, most people are just starting their business. They're like, all right, I'm going to do this. This is what I love, and I want to really help out these people. But what people, I don't know yet. I'm going to figure that out as we go. And that's typically how it goes. That's how it went for me as well. When I first got started, I used to take, pretty much any type of business.
Mm-hmm.
And if they wanted results tomorrow, I'd work my ass off to try to get results tomorrow. Right. But now I don't do that. Right now I'm
Yeah.
extremely more selective on who it is that I work with, because I do have an ideal avatar of who it is that I like to work with, and, specific, uh, goals that I'm looking to help them accomplish. And if I can't, if what I do can't align with their goals, there's no reason for me to try to help them if I don't feel 100% aligned with what it is that we're trying to do for them.
Yeah, that's great advice, right? So in the beginning, we kind of experience, the good ones and the not so good ones, and we start to figure it out, and then we think of alignment, right? And when the money is tight for entrepreneurs, if they're riding the roller coaster, the money is tight, then there are decisions that need to be made, right? When you get an opportunity, do you take that opportunity, recognizing that that can actually drag you down and cause more problems than what it's worth? So that's a challenge that some of us need to think about. What about you? Have you ever come across that one? Not to say
Uh,
that but in the beginning, especially, what's your thought?
Oh yeah, no, definitely in the
Yeah.
beginning, I've, definitely ran into some, not so great clients. I had clients, they start one day and then they change their mind the next day, and
Oh,
people were
yeah.
very wishy-washy. So yeah, you definitely, as a entrepreneur, you experience that uh really quickly. Right,
Yeah.
especially when you're first getting started, right? Because you want to start to get that cash flow coming in, and then you want to get them results, and then you find out that they're calling you every 2 minutes for something. It's like, whoa, what's going on? Right. So you start to learn about different types of people, and how they engage. And then as you work with more people, you start to ask the right questions during your introduction calls to find out who they are, what their goals are, what you're trying to accomplish. Are you able to actually help them accomplish those goals? And then you're able to provide them with, better feedback and direction, whether that's with you or with somebody else. But at first, yeah, it gets a little, crazy with some people. Just, "Yeah, I'll help you," and then
Yeah.
they're like, "Whoa, wow, that was quite a customer."
Right. And then we learn, I think we learned with our questions, we have to ask better questions like, are
Exactly.
you going to be constantly changing your mind? It may not be the best question, but you ask, what have they done already? How long did they stick with something? You ask questions like that. And then if you hear, the red flags, then you have to weigh all of those things out as well. Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So as far as like, today, like, I mean, I can go on social media, and social media for me is part of my branding and getting my message out. So along the lines, like, I want people to see who I am. I want my ideal client primarily to see who I am, which is going to be, in some categories, it's going to be the small business owners that's looking to grow their sales, but they feel awkward about selling. They don't want to be pushy or salesy. And then on another arena, it's more towards the business owner that doesn't want to deal with sales at all and needs some help. So I've got a couple of different avenues that I'm pursuing. I don't pursue them both at once though, right? The message is
Right.
one in particular. So if you're going to drive people to a landing page, you want that landing page to talk to them. So if I click on something on social media and I'm on it, right, and I see something that appeals to me, if I click on it, like what you said, I should know clearly as to what I'm clicking on, or otherwise I'm going to disappear. Does that
Yep.
happen, or what's your thought on that?
Yeah. So a lot of times, call it clickbait, I guess,
Ah,
right? Where, they have something that seems very interesting and you're like, oh, perfect. You click on it and then it's not what it's supposed to be, or what they said it's going to be. Uh, you know, that's not the type of marketing I do, right? And there's obviously people out there that are just trying to drive traffic to certain websites. There are companies out there that's all they do is drive traffic to websites, and they use social media and they use Google Ads, and they'll do whatever it takes to drive traffic there because they get paid on the number of people that hit those websites.
oh,
And so you may come across things like that. I don't, I haven't come across too many things like that. But there are definitely things like that, especially in different industries where people are trying to drive you to certain products, in order to, get you to buy. But the whole being kind of, I would consider that kind of deceiving,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's not something I would encourage anybody to do. I always be transparent. I'm extremely transparent. If you go and check out my social media, my content, it's everything's out there. I share tons of tips. Things that most marketers aren't going to share because they don't want you to know. But like I said, you just got to know who you're working with when it comes to your advertising and marketing. And just, I'm very big into collaborating with my clients. So we don't just take on a client and say, all right, we're going to take care of it. Talk to you later. No, it's like, all right, here you go. Here's the ads. Here's the ad copy. This is what we're thinking of doing. This is the strategy. Here's how it's going to all work. Here's the flow to it. And then, this is the landing page that they're going to, right? So everything is the client that signs off on everything, to make sure that everything is not just ready to go, but also aligned with who they are, their branding, their messaging. Everything is consistent with what they were expecting. And so that's really important to have good communication with the people that are doing your marketing and advertising.
Yeah. I mean, this is really good. I mean, you're probably having conversations with your client as well all along the way, because you mentioned the collaboration. It's not just a handoff and disappear, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So on this, Carrie mentioned early on, Carrie Climas, who's here, she mentioned early on that she's looking, of course, to find more of her ideal clients and to grow her business. What be if of course hiring you is a great thing to do because you can kind of help with the strategy, and I love what you're talking about, all the different avenues. And whereas some of us might just say, I'm going to throw throw the spaghetti at the wall and see if it sticks here. Or should I be advertising on Amazon? Should I be doing LinkedIn ads? Or maybe the Google ads now? And we're all over the place. We try something for a few days and don't get results. So maybe someone like Carrie, who's probably just a lot of us here, if we just want to do something ourselves for a while and we figure out how that goes, would you say that we need to try something for a while, or do we stick with one thing for a while, or what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so I would say stick to one thing for a while. One thing that you said is, oh, we try it for a couple days, right? And so a lot of times so I do a lot of advertising, right? Google, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. A lot of Facebook and Instagram is really an area that a lot of business owners try to do on their own. And so the thing I get, oh, I tried Facebook, it didn't work. All right. And so my next question is, how long did you do it? Oh, I did it for 3 days. Okay. How much did you spend? $30. I'm like, $30 is nothing.
Mm,
Like you're not gonna get like you can't expect to spend $30 and get a customer. especially when you're first getting started, right? Because you're not going to be hitting your right target. It takes time for the algorithm to actually learn who your ideal customer is for it to get in front of it. And Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram, has done a really good job with what they call now Advantage Plus. It's a feature in there that helps with targeting based on tons of data that they've had all over all these years. And where you can almost let it kind of do its own thing and it'll figure out your targeting based on your ad copy, your images and stuff like that, and your page, and a few other factors. But it works really well. And so a lot of businesses tend to go to use that. But if you're going to utilize it, you need to let it run for a while, right? Spend $300, not
Mm.
$30,
Yeah.
right? You have to make a pretty, significant investment. And then 300 is not like huge, but it could be for some people
Yeah.
that are just getting started. So, you know, dip your foot in there and start testing. And you don't have to, throw $300 in one day because I would totally not do that. That would be crazy. But you can do $10 a day for 30 days, right? And you can now see the incremental growth over the time and you can measure as you go along. And then every couple of days or every week, but depending on, how you want to do it, you have to go in there and monitor and check and see and make adjustments. And so I can go on and on about
Hmm.
about
Yeah.
the ad side as far as everything that can go on there. But one area is, if you're going to try it for more than just 3 days. You have to give it at least 30 days. And look
Yeah.
for help, right?
Yeah.
That's one of the areas that I try to do is I do offer consulting where I help people and guide them on those things, because there's a lot of options in there. Oh, and the other thing is do it on your computer. Stop doing things on your cell phones.
Oh, why is that? Why should we do things more on a computer versus our cell phone on that?
Because within the desktop versions, you're going to have more options and it's a lot easier to see settings and everything.
Mm.
A lot of people skip over a lot of the settings and features, but certain buttons aren't even available on the mobile version. And so doing it on desktop typically is more recommended, especially for the ad platform side of it.
Oh, this is great. Let's touch on, I mean, I could go on for a long time too. This is so good. And maybe we'll have some time after, and we can talk a little bit about this. But one of those questions I have is what do Facebook ads really need to look like? And maybe we have this and either we'll figure out when to have this conversation, but you have some that are very professional and it looks like they cost a lot of money, and then others not so much, and it's like, well, what really works, what do you need, and maybe we could talk about that. But I just wanted to touch on AI for the small business owner. How can AI be a tool that we can use to help grow our business these days?
Oh man, I don't know what way it almost can't
Not
help
enough
you grow
time,
your
huh?
business.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's, to start off, the quick and easy one is, we were just talking about social media is, coming up with content ideas, right? It can even help you kind of try to figure out who your ideal customer is, right? You
Mm.
can tell it, give it information about your business, type of business, and, some of your competitors. There's so many things you can do with it, but primarily I would say social media content, right? So if you need help coming up with ideas. And then if you need help writing the actual copy, it could write the copy for you as well, right? And then all you got to do is copy and paste. You could utilize a tool like Canva to create the image, or you can actually have it also create the image for you as well
Mm.
by prompting it to create an image. So that's one way. Um, Ad copy, you can utilize it for ad copy. You can utilize it for blogs, for coming up with ideas and expanding on your ideas, right? That's one area where a lot of people struggle is they want to write and they
Mm.
want to share their thoughts. And then when they start writing, they're like, man, I can't come up with all this stuff. I don't know how to put it all together, right? Like I don't know
Yeah.
how to really express it all. And so, AI can definitely help you, put together all your thoughts and be like, listen, this is what I want. And feed it to it and it'll, write it for you, right? With your tone, because you're the one prompting it and telling it what to do. One thing that I hear a lot of is with AI is that it's not authentic.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not authentic. It's,
Yeah.
it's not me. Who knows whether or not it's you or not,
I'm so glad you brought this up.
Nobody
Yeah.
knows, right? Now,
Yeah.
obviously, if you mess around with AI enough and you use it a lot for writing and things of that nature, you can pick up on certain things and certain words and certain ways that it writes, because the person that was utilizing doesn't know how to properly prompt it. But nobody's ever going to be like, they wrote that with AI. Like, it just doesn't happen, because it's just so difficult to tell because it just writes so naturally. And so don't be afraid to utilize it for writing. I utilize it for newsletters, coming up with content ideas. I've used it for blogs. Just sometimes I just can't get all my thoughts out into a way that it's reads well. Right? I need it to read well. I'm not a writer. I'm a marketer.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's
I
why I
mean,
worked with copywriters, right?
yeah.
So copywriters is, typically who I send my stuff to. Now I have AI that kind of helps me out with that as well. So I kind of use actually a hybrid approach because sometimes I'll be like, listen, here, I need you to write this for a client, have them write it, and then I have AI kind of revise it and expand on it if it's too short.
Yeah. So good. I use a tool called Magi, Magai. I think that's how you say it. And it gives a number of different personas. So it uses multiple large language models. So it uses Chat GPT and uses several of them. And it gives you different personas. And you can put in your own content that you have written and say, this is my voice. And so now I've got a voice that says Harry's voice, basically. And so using that, I look at it as my team is now bigger. I mean, I couldn't afford a bunch of copywriters and say I need to get all of this content out and I have to build this big team. That would, that's who I would be working for. And using AI can get you a lot of bang for very limited dollars. I mean, I pay for the Magi. Some will pay for ChatGPT. Perplexity is another one that I use, which is super helpful, and it gives you the background content for the answers and so forth. So we started out, Jose, super helpful. We started out with the experience after the lead gen. And this is something that I know that you talked about this when, you can go into a restaurant and, you can do a lot of work filling up the seats. But if the person goes into the restaurant and has a horrible experience of people slamming plates down on them or not greeting them with smiles or not feeling welcome, that restaurant can go out of business just as quickly as it got into business, even though they're getting lead gen. It's not a great experience. The same is true on the sales side of things. I can, an example is I called somebody that was offering a service that I thought I was interested in. Well, the person on the phone, I mean, they called me. So I filled out a form. They called me. The person on the phone was like, completely not someone I was going to, let's just put it this way. I would not do business with that type of person. So did the lead work? Right? Was the lead gen effective? You got to look at the whole process. So let's talk a
Yep.
little bit about that, because I think that's where a lot of people are missing out. They say, I need better lead gen, but what are we doing to really capture the right people and make sure they're happy when we do get those leads?
Yeah, and so this is a ongoing battle for the marketing agency versus the client, when it comes to the quality of leads. And so perfect example, like you said, you filled out a form, they called you back, the person on the phone just didn't seem probably interested or whatever the case may be. Uh, Technically you were a quality lead, right? You were interested at the time. But when you spoke to that person didn't seem as interested into the, helping you. In the case may be, you didn't feel, welcomed. You didn't feel like you were going to get a good service from them. So, by the end of the conversation, were you going to buy, or were you thinking of calling them again?
No, definitely
So,
not.
so the lead went dead, right?
Yeah,
So technically the lead went dead. But on their end, that guy might have been like, oh, he was a bad lead. And now
exactly.
that's what gets reported up.
Yeah.
And then
So,
it comes
like,
back to the agency.
okay,
Um,
so on this particular case, and I think we can really hone in on it, is that everybody associated with this person who was doing the program or had the coaching thing or whatever everyone associated with that person is a reflection of that person.
Exactly.
Right. So this is where the challenge was. I went, well, maybe that person isn't as good as I thought they were, was my first reaction. And then it pushed me away because the experience I had on the phone was not pleasant. Same is going to go true with a restaurant, right? The owner of the restaurant could be a sweetheart of a person, but maybe they don't know how to interview people. Maybe, because they just don't know. And
Yep.
so now you've got or coach people or train up people or get a system in play. It is now a reflection exactly on the business owner. And so the business is going to suffer for that. So yeah, I don't mean to interrupt, but I just wanted to share that thought. So continue on that where you were, if you can.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, like you mentioned, the experience for the customer starts from the point of contact, right? Whether that's walking in through the door or speaking to someone on the phone. And then that experience determines whether or not they're going to call you back, going to do business with you, right? It's first impressions, right? Everybody always talks, oh, make a great first impression. And so one way to kind of help battle these things as a business owner and try to get in front of them is I utilize call tracking, right? So if
Hmm.
anybody calls any of my clients from any of our campaigns, that phone call is tracked, right? So that they can't go back and be like, oh, well, the call was no good. To be like, well, no, your representative here dropped the ball because this person was actually interested in interior design, but they didn't understand what they were saying because they didn't ask the right questions,
Hmm.
right? This is a training opportunity for you to take to this employee and train them on, ask better questions, know what, pick up on these certain signs, right? Um,
Is
and
that
so
something that people generally know? Do you think?
to what, as
What
far as to
to
track the phone calls and record them?
Well, and to know what to be saying.
I don't think they do because I don't
Yeah.
think people are trained on it.
Yeah. I mean,
Right?
I think of like in sales, I've had to train people for years. We've even had full-time trainers. Plus, I did my own training on my team with my team to show people how to make a call and, tone of voice. I mean, there's so much that goes on there. I
Yep.
can't even imagine how people would know this without some kind of training. What's your
And that's the
thought?
thing.
Yeah.
They lack the training, right? And so whether that's a retail store where they lack the training as far as like how to properly greet the customer, how to, possibly upsell them and all those things. But on the phone, yeah, as soon as you pick up the phone, that customer, that experience starts right away and will determine, whether or not that's a good lead. And then the training is just a matter of, especially smaller businesses, they just don't think about the training part of it. And
Mm.
being that I came from corporate background, right? So I
Yeah.
have, years of experience working for AT&T in retail sales. So I have a lot of sales experience as well, which is where I got this whole, connection with where I'm trying to help out more clients with is that customer experience will determine your reputation, right? Because if Harry's not going to go back and tell anybody about the company that called him because he didn't enjoy the experience. So, and
Right.
he's not going to do business with them. So he's not going to share that with anybody, right? So, even what if he had a great experience though, and they gave him a bunch of knowledge and gave him some tips, and be like, listen, I didn't sign up with them yet, but I had this really good phone call with them. They told me this, and the other thing. You should reach out to them. They might work for you, right? So that experience, if he had a positive experience, could possibly have turned into a referral for them. But since he didn't have a good experience, it's not going to turn into anything for him. And so having someone making sure that the business owner is training and listening for signs to uh, educate and kind of just correct behaviors will make a difference, especially and it's a lot easier to pick up when I see it in retail stores because I'm not on the phone every day, but I can listen to the phone calls. But you can retail sales, you can easily sit there and supervise, right? And another thing you can try doing is if you want to know and how to improve your business is utilize secret shopper, right? Or a
Mm.
secret caller, right? Hire someone. This is something that I'm starting to do where I'll go into a store or call a business and kind of go through their experience, right? And now I go back to the business owner and tell them, here's the call. We record the phone call and here's here it is. Here's how it went. and here's what happened, and here's the things that you can do to improve it. Here's how they should possibly be greeting the phone, answering the phone, right? I have a client of mine that no matter what, always answers the phone, hello. And that's all he says. He just says hello. And so the person on the other end is this so and so company? And
Right.
he's like, yeah, yeah. And I'm like, dude, you have to say the name of the company so they know that they're calling the right place. And so that's part of that experience, right? That customer at the very beginning was confused because he wasn't sure who he called because the person answered hello instead of saying, thank you for calling, da 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 da. How can I help you? So
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so a simple thing like that is the greeting, right? So if
right,
the person is answering the phone, hello, my first thought is I must have called the wrong number,
exactly.
right? I mean, we're trained, when you call a company, they respond by thank you for calling ABC,
Right.
typically. So if someone says hello, it's like unprofessional. I must have dialed the wrong number. And then, the hang up occurs.
Yep.
So you can lose people that simple way. I remember another thing, like in the corporate world, a lot of times people that answered the phone were, temp workers, whatever, not to throw anyone under the bus, but they were not people that were really vested into the company. And so they didn't care. But yet, an inbound lead is very expensive. And then putting on somebody that doesn't care is not conducive to having a successful digital marketing program. Am I wrong on that?
No, you're 100% right. That's why always the business owner typically is always the best salesperson,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
So,
Because they
yeah.
have the most passion for the business, right? And so that passion comes across when they're talking to their potential customer compared to the sales guy that's like, all right, oh, this guy's not serious. Let me move on to the next one, right? Because they're
Yeah.
just focused on where can they make their commission the fastest, as opposed to trying to help out every single customer.
Yeah. I mean, salespeople can get hardened pretty quickly on that. I was actually, I follow a lot of sales experts on YouTube and TikTok. Um, the Wolf of Wall Street, I forgot the guy's name, but
Oh, he's got a course going on or something right now. I
yeah,
saw.
so I'm seeing a lot of his stuff. I must have clicked on something. So I see a lot of his content. And he ties into a book written by Chet Holmes. And he talks about Chet Holmes talks about the number of people that are in the market. So basically, 4% of the people you talk to today are
Yep,
in the market for what it is you do.
ready to
That
buy.
ready to buy, right?
Right.
So
Yep.
that leaves 96% that aren't. And then
Yep.
another group of people are in the curious, interested, just not ready yet.
I think it's about 30% or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And then you had another 30% or so
Yep.
that just are completely uninformed, have no idea. And then really another 30-ish percent. So you basically have your 100% that will just never do business with you. So I
Yep.
like those numbers. But what the Wolf of Wall Street said is you got two groups of people. You got the people in the group that are in the market today, which I like, and people who may be in the market down the road. And then another group of people that are just not worth spending your time with. And it
Right.
is your job, I mean, a salesperson's job, is to figure out who you're speaking with at the time. And this is where, that whole education comes in because, and this is where a lot of people will say things along the lines of, I'm not very good at closing, right? Because they get the lead, but they're getting the curious lead. They're getting the person that's only curious. And then there are the people that dial the wrong number and just they're in the wrong spot. They think it's one thing and it's something else. But you're not going to close those people. And the people who are just kind of interested, but they don't have a burning need, guess what? You're not going to close them either. So this whole idea that my lead gen isn't working because I'm not closing enough is like, well, are you looking at the numbers? Are those numbers that you see really like the 3 or 4% that are in the market today? Is that really who you're working with? Or are you working more with people who are longer term, and trying to get those people to come in and be around you and learn from you and eventually buy from you? What's your thought on that?
So I'm a big believer. I actually talk about this, the 3%, 4% at the bottom of the funnel.
Yeah. Okay.
And I actually, so one of the things that I actually do is I actually am really big into marketing to the other 96%.
Yeah.
Because uh there everybody's fighting for the bottom. Like literally, everybody is fighting for that bottom 4%. Like that's why it's so competitive in certain industries on Google Ads, right? Because everybody wants to be there at the very top when everybody's actively searching for your product or service, right? And those, if with the right keywords, you can get the buying keywords, right? The people where people are searching ready to buy. And so now you're competing and the cost is going to be much higher. Where if you find other terms where people are kind of like in their research phase and kind of learning and trying to figure it out, uh, you can lure them in and get them into your marketing funnel, right? And so that's one of the biggest things that I do now is I take my clients are mostly clients that are looking more long term, right? I don't take on clients that are dying that are like we're going to go out of business if we don't get business today. Like that's
Mm.
not an ideal client for me at
Yeah.
all, because it's just so hard to turn something around like that. And so I work on generating more people into my clients pipeline, into their databases so they can grow their database of people who have an interest in the product or service that they're offering. So, for example, a client of mine owns a quick oil change location. So, right now, I have a campaign running on social media for a coupon where people can opt in for that coupon for first time customers, right? And so, we're building his database, right? We're not just throwing money out there at Facebook. Hey, come and get an oil change, come and get an oil change, hoping and praying that someone's going to come and get an oil change. We're building the database, so he's getting actually more return out of his marketing dollars because for every dollar he gets, we're actually I think it's about $2 for each opt-in for him. But for every $2, he gets a name, email, and phone number, right? And so now with that, we continue to email market to them through an email drip campaign. We have a monthly newsletter that goes out to these people as well to continue to encourage them to go into the location, educate them along the way. I also do this for multiple clients, but even for a Sprinter van. So if you've ever seen the nice Mercedes camper Sprinter vans that
Yeah.
people use for traveling, I actually run a Facebook ad campaign for that where we run downloads for their brochures. We get about 50 downloads per day of their brochure. And one of the questions that we ask on their download is, would you like a sales representative to contact you?
Yeah.
People
Okay.
say yes.
Wow. Yeah.
We're talking about
Who says yes to that
$150,000.
question?
We're talking about $150,000 van, right? And this is through Facebook, right? So you can get in front of the right audience. But again, we're playing the long-term game with these people because we know it's a big investment for people,
Yeah.
right? Buying a van for $150,000 isn't something that someone makes up their minds like, oh, I'm going to do it today, right? Like it takes time. They do a lot of research. And so we're getting out in front of these people as they're doing the research, people that are interested in traveling, people that are interested in camping, right? And we're getting this out in front of them, getting them to opt in, educating them along the way. And as time goes on, sales slowly continue to increase as we continue to move forward. And so don't be afraid to play the long game. It is definitely more cost effective for most businesses because over time these people have already shown an interest. They want the product. It's a matter of you convincing them to get it with you. And if you can get in front of them first, they're gonna likely do business with you because you're the only person they know.
Yeah. That's so good. And I'm willing to bet if they're calling for $150,000 van, that experience better be a good experience. Right.
Yeah, I better be. I don't control that side of it,
Yes,
but
but it
yeah,
better be a good one because I mean, yeah,
we
because
have had
that's
a
what people
convers
expect, right?
Yeah, we have had conversations about phone calls that have come through before as far as how to handle them. But yes, like I said, that's why I like to record the conversations. There are always learning experiences. And even for business owners, right? Like as a business owner, you have to be open to learning, right?
Yeah.
And open to criticism and open to feedback, because you just don't know it all, right?
Yeah.
And especially when it comes to sales, customer experience, if you weren't like raised in that pretty much. It's hard to kind of know it all, especially the customer experience side and, the right questions to ask people. And that's why I think a lot of brick and mortar stores are struggling because they don't provide a customer experience anymore. Right? You walk in, you barely get greeted anymore. So
Exactly. Yeah.
it just isn't very conducive for good customer
Yeah. I
experience.
mean, you can go where there is an experience and you don't pay the same, maybe a few dollars more, but not much more, or go
Yep.
where there isn't one. And, place is a disaster. And I just saw a post about this huge company that's going out of business, a retail place. And the person who created the post said simply what you just said. They weren't providing the experience that some of these other big box stores like Costco and BJ's and others who do well. It could be a great idea. They could say, well, we're very similar. You're going to get the lowest price by a lot. But if the stuff looks like trash and the people are rude, they're not going to go back. Right?
Yep.
So, anyway, Jose, this has been great. I'm opening this up to see if anyone else has any questions or not. Feel free to chime in, folks who are here. Stephen, Patrick, Carrie, Denise, appreciate you guys spending a little time with us. If there's something that jumps out, we got a few minutes left. Would love to get your opinion or question or whatever on this, because we want to make this valuable for you as well. I know I could hog up a lot of these questions, but one of the things out there, Jose, is just the idea of boosting posts randomly. Is that a good use of money, or what's your thought on that?
I think it's a good way to get robbed.
Yeah, okay. All right, explain, por favor.
So the boost button and the promote button on Facebook and Instagram were intended to do one thing, is to get you to spend money, right? So
Yeah.
it's to get you to get into the ecosystem of spending money. And when you go and promote the post, and then all of a sudden you see all these likes on it, you're like, "Ooh, this is working," but it's really not working because you didn't do anything except hit boost posts and didn't do any targeting and aren't hitting the right audience, and it's just set up to get you engagement. And so the boost post button is something I actually tell people avoid. Like I said, it's there to kind of just get you into the ecosystem and take your money. There's so many different options when it comes to the targeting within Facebook and Instagram that you should definitely be utilizing the ads manager, only because every ad objective works differently and will get you a different result. Right. So you could have the same ad and the same copy and select two different types of ad campaigns and get two completely different results. Right.
Mm.
So, for example, if I ran a campaign under engagement, uh, that campaign is likely going to get a bunch of likes, comments, maybe some shares, right? But if I ran that same ad as a traffic campaign, now it's not going to get as many likes and shares and comments, but now it's going to be people are going to click on it to go to my website, right? So it's going to show it to people who are more likely to click on an ad and go to the website, and the engagement ad is more likely to show your ad to someone who's going to engage with the ad, not necessarily click through and become a customer. And so knowing those differences and utilizing the right ad objective will make your campaigns more effective in the long run.
So good. So you mentioned about the $300, throwing that out like for Facebook ads versus the $30. I was I was curious about Facebook ads, so I answered. I clicked on something, spoke to a person on a phone, and it was a $10,000 coaching program,
Nice.
and I would pay for the Facebook ads. And I asked a couple of questions, and I said, "Well, do we guarantee that the ads will work?" And the person said, "Oh no, there are no guarantees," and which makes sense. But you're basically spending a lot of money. No offense to the person that's doing this, you're onto something, I'm sure. But you don't necessarily need to go that route, right? Where you could actually speak to someone like you, get coached up, do some ads, try them, and probably not necessarily spend $10,000 before you even start. Am
Yeah.
I am I right on this? My asking
Yeah.
the right question here. Are you like a minimum of $10,000 before we even start, or is there? I mean, what's your thought on this concept here?
Yeah, so I don't know about $10,000, but there's definitely a lot of coaches out there that charge a lot of money uh for programs with little to no guarantee, which in marketing there can never be if a marketer guarantees you results, they're likely lying to you, or they're just getting the same results from somebody else and reselling them to you.
Mm,
Right? Like the lead generation companies that used to do that, and they still are out there that do that sort of stuff.
uh,
They just resell leads. So yeah, be careful out there with things like that. Um,
yeah. So do you provide? So you don't necessarily need to spend a ton of money, so right? So that turned
no,
me off, and I went, "Oh my God, this is very expensive."
yeah, I
But
have a
then
done with
yeah,
you service,
yeah.
right? So it's more done with you. So we do it through Zoom, go through, walk you through. Um, you know, I have a whole Facebook course that I do one-on-one, right?
Yeah.
For clients, that want to learn Facebook ads. Or I do one-on-one just, oh, I need help getting this ad set up. Can you walk me through it type deal? So I
Hmm.
do that as well. Typically when I do that though, it's not just set up an ad because you need custom audiences, right? So you want to make sure that when people are clicking on your ads, engaging with your stuff, that they're falling into a specific bucket in the back end so that you can get back in front of them. You want to make sure that you're utilizing the right ad option, right? So that way you're getting the right results. If we're doing a form, there's a Facebook lead form,
Hmm.
getting that set up. So there's a lot of different things that I help a business owner with or a business with to get set up so that they can run their own campaigns. And then, it's something as simple as, like you said, you can just turn them on and off as you go. And so you don't have to go out and spend $10,000 on some coach. I think that's crazy. Uh, I could definitely help you out. I'm way less than $10,000 a month. Or I don't know if that's a month or how
Oh,
long
that's
you did
just
that for.
that's just to get started,
Oh,
right?
okay. That's just
Yeah.
a
So
welcoming.
yes, that's your
Welcome to the
welcome.
club.
Yes. I mean, there
Okay.
again, it's working for some, but there are other options. I
Right.
like when I speak with you, Jose, and I follow you, and I encourage anyone who's listening to follow Jose on social media because he is constantly providing the tips. And sometimes I look at it and say, well, I can do that one myself. I can do that myself. But, I still don't know enough about Facebook ads to venture in and say, well, what's the difference? And you said something along the lines, you can take two identical pieces of, or two identical advertisements, I guess, and get different results
Yep.
based on the way they're marketed and so forth. So having a guy like you in the corner and exploring you're done with you and maybe your class as to how to do this, I think is a good thing because it's going to save a ton of time. And maybe you invest a few dollars but you save potentially years of doing it the wrong way,
Yep.
years of missing out on growing your client base. So I just love what you've been saying today, so
Yeah. And
super
actually, one of my
helpful.
clients, because you mentioned about the coach, just came to my mind was that one of my most recent clients actually was on a call with a coach to help him with some Facebook and Instagram stuff. I think theirs was, I think, $12,000, I think he said. And he's like, you know what? I know somebody. Let me just call Jose. I'd rather give him $12,000 than to do this. So he called me up, and I actually ended up working with him, and I'm doing all his lead generation for him. And he's like, "This is so much better, man. I don't have to worry about it anymore because now I know that it's being taken care of. We communicate, and he knows what's going on." And so, yes, working with somebody that knows what they're doing is typically going to be more beneficial for a business owner because it's going to save you time. But if you have the time to still dedicate to doing these things yourself, dedicate the time, right? And a lot of people like, I don't have the time. You more than likely have some extra spare time there that you're wasting somewhere. I know I do sometimes.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Super helpful, Jose. Where can people reach you if they want to explore more about working with you, or maybe have a conversation and or at least better understand what it is? Um, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so it can be reached. So you can go to my company website's reconmediainc.com. And then as far as connecting with me on social media, I'm most active typically on Instagram, but it's the same thing on all platforms. It's J, the letter J, Victor Cast, on all platforms. And so you can connect with me on those platforms and get some more free advice. The other thing is that I am going to be starting up again is my weekly live open office time. So every week I'm going to be opening up. I do a live stream on YouTube for 30 minutes where I open up my office to any questions anybody has. So people are able to either submit their questions ahead of time or join on the live, and I'll answer their question during the live, where people will be able to get the answers to their marketing questions. So that's something else that I'm doing that I'm going to start up again next week.
yeah, I mean, yeah, you get about 1 million people in that group, or 1 million that need it.
Yeah.
Yeah, great stuff, Jose. Thanks for joining us, and thanks, Carrie, Patrick, Stephen, and Denise, Roanne, and Joyce for joining us as well. Super helpful. There's going to be a ton of clips that come out of this conversation because, I mean, and you will be able to look at basically almost like take the transcript and just start putting it into practice and helping each of you guys out with this. So follow Jose, find him, have a conversation with him. I love the YouTube thing. The open office sounds like a great thing, so I want to know more. Thank you so much for joining us today, Jose. It's been a blast and super informative and helpful.
Thanks for having me.
All right, good deal. We'll see all of you folks that joined in, and we appreciate you coming in and supporting us today. Thanks for listening to Sales Made Easy. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe and share it with your friends. Also, you're invited to join the Facebook group Sales Training Selling with Dignity. Serve first, the selling will follow.